Hey guys, Paul Monroe here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to practice. I get this question asked a lot, so I'm going to give you a few different ideas. They're not set in stone. These are not the only ways to practice. These are just a few examples. So if you're ready, let's do it. Hey guys, so we're going to jump right into this with the 10,000 hour rule. You can Google this and find out exactly what this is, but basically the principle holds that 10,000 hours of deliberate practice are needed to become world class in any field and to become an expert. So they say in order to become an expert, you need to practice about 10,000 hours or study about 10,000 hours to get to that level. Now, here's my philosophy. It's not how many hours a day you practice, it's how you use your time. So if you have two identical drummers and one guy's just practicing the same things over and over and over for years and years and years, okay, just like a bodybuilder going to the gym and practice and working out with the same weights, doing the same exercises, he might look pretty good, but he's probably not going to grow too much, right? Same thing with drummers. So it's not how many hours a day you practice, it's to really use your time efficiently and get the most out of that time and make sure you're learning and growing from that, because if you're just wasting time, time gets wasted very quickly, and over a period of days, weeks, months, and years, you could have wasted hundreds of hours. So keep that in mind. It's not how many hours a day you practice, it's how you use your time. And just to give you an idea of that for the 10,000 hour rule, if you practiced 3 hours a day every single day, it would take you about 9.1 years to become an expert. If you practice 4 hours a day, it would take you approximately 6.8 years. So you just do the math and figure that out. There's no hurry here, guys. I mean, I've never seen a really great drummer become phenomenal in 2 to 3, years. It takes a really long time to become great at any field, and this is just an example of that. So keep that in mind. Here we go. All right, so the first type of practice. Now again, these are not set in stone. These are just examples that I'm giving you. When I say this is how to practice, that's not the only way. This is just my ways of practicing that I've done in the past, different ways that I've done it. I learned from other people, taking their ideas and maybe taking a little example from somebody and somebody else here and somebody else over there and making it my own. So again, these are just examples or guidelines for you. The first one is called a timed practice. So if you, let's say you have 2 or 3 hours to practice, or even 1 hour to practice, you'd have to just break it up and figure out the timing a little differently here. But I would break it up like this. Always start with rudiments, 30 minutes if you can, 20 minutes minimum. But I would do that, I say here, for 30 minutes if you're doing a 2 or 3 hour practice. Get your rudiments in. And I wrote here, Hands for a Lifetime. Now this is by Tommy Igoe. I used to study with his dad, Sonny Igoe, and this Hands for a Lifetime is my go-to rudimental practice right now. That may change later, but right now, for at least the past year, that's what I've been working on, and everything comes from that. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. You could do the beginner, intermediate, or advanced technique that they have available. And you could look them up on YouTube, and even on my channel, you can look up the intermediate version and play that one with me. I recorded that, and I just highly recommend it. I think it's a really great exercise for warming up the hands. The Buddy Rich book of snare drum rudiments, I did that for years. But whatever you got to do, just make sure you work on your rudiments for 30 minutes. We're going to blow through this stuff really quick. I'm not going to really get into a lot of details of it for time's sake. You could ask me questions later in the comments area. Be more than happy to detail anything out for you that you need. The next session is grooves and timing. You're always working on your timing, whether you're doing rudiments or you're working on grooves, beats, fills. Always work with a metronome. See at the bottom here, always practice with a metronome. Total 2 hours. This particular time practice is about 2 hours long, but always work with that metronome. Grooves and timing, you're going to work on stuff like beats, maybe linear grooves, linear meaning no two limbs touch at the same exact time. You can work on Latin beats, you can work on your jazz rhythms, whatever you feel that you need work on, put into this grooves and timing category and work on that for about 20 minutes. Then you work on fills. Maybe you have some new fills that you're working on or you'd like to learn. Maybe fills that you've been working on that don't sound that great and they need a little help. So you have to take what you can and make them better and add to it. All right, so just don't try to keep doing the same fill over and over. Use different drums, move your hands around the kit, get creative with it. I always like to take 16th note fills and make them into triplet fills, and take triplet fills and make them into 16th note fills. I'm going to be doing a video just on that. So that's a really cool concept, to take what you already have and double it by just doing that concept, just taking the triplets, making them 16ths, making the 16th triplets. Mathematically, you have to figure that out. Again, I'm not going to get into the details of it now. I'm just giving you some ideas. So you're going to do your fills for about 20 minutes. Then you do solo ideas. I love doing solo ideas because in solos, you don't really want to think too much. You want to kind of practice the things that you've been working on, but you want it to be like walking and talking. You don't really want to think too much. You just want to let it go and get fluid with it and see what you got. And then week to week, that solo should expand and you should be coming up with more ideas because of the practice routine that you have. You're learning new things, you're implementing into the solo. So I really think it's important to solo. You could do 10 minutes, you could do 20 minutes, whatever you feel comfortable with. These are just guidelines for you. But the most important thing is to do it without thinking. And then finally, the fifth thing on the time practice is new song learning. So anything that will challenge you to learn something new. Maybe you always wanted to learn Neil Peart songs and Rush songs, and Tom Sawyer was a challenge for you. So I would definitely recommend practicing that. And don't try to practice the whole song. Maybe there's one section you get stuck on. Practice that one section. Maybe there's 2 or 3 sections you're stuck on. You want to practice those sections one at a time until you get it down. So then when you put it all together, then naturally it'll come together because you've already worked on those things. A lot of times when I'm working on songs, there's a few sections that I'm not comfortable with, and I'll work on each one of those sections individually until I get it down, and then finally get the whole song. So that's the new song learning. And that's it for the time practice. So you got a time. I got 2-3 hours to practice. I'm gonna write it down beforehand so you're not doodling, you're not just screwing around and wasting time. Write it down, make a little chart for yourself so that you know what to practice, and stick to it and follow it, because consistency is going to be the key here into getting better. All right, so the next one is the 17-minute practice routine. Now I came up with this myself. I just like the number 17. It's a favorite number of mine, a lucky number of mine in Vegas that I play all the time on the craps tables and a bunch of other things. So 17 minutes. Now you can make it 15 minutes, you can make it 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever you want to do. But I set my Apple Watch, and you could have any timer you want, but I happen to set my Apple Watch because it vibrates for me for 17 minutes. And then I go for it. I do my rudiments. So I'll do my hands for a lifetime and work on rudiments that I'm not comfortable with it. Sometimes when I do the advanced for a lifetime, there's rudiments that I get stuck on with the tempo that Tommy is playing them at. So I'll stop everything after I'm done with that practice, and I'll just focus on those rudiments and work those up with the metronome. And eventually, you'll be able to do the whole routine. So I set my timer for 17 minutes. As soon as that stops, I set it again for 17 minutes, and I go to the next thing, which is, in this example, a groove or a beat that you have been struggling with. So you just pick something, like I did a video the other day for the songo. If that's something you want to learn, then you're going to work on that songo for 17 minutes, okay, or whatever time you set. After that, you set your timer for 17 minutes again, and you do some single bass exercises. For instance, just alternating between your floor tom and your right foot. Decca, 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 decca. You could do eighth notes, then into eighth note triplets, then into 16th notes, and 16th note triplets, however you want to do that. But you do that for 17 minutes. And then you may go into a double bass exercise. I'll show you that in the last example of some of the things that I work on, but you'll do that for 17 minutes. Then you might have a new fill idea, like I was talking about in the last routine. So you could kind of take routines from one and the other and combine your own routine, however you want to do it. But this is, on this specific one for the 17-minute practice, you're going to do that for 17 minutes. Pick a fill that you've never done before, or maybe you really wanted to do maybe some John Bonham fills like dat dat goom dat dat goom dat dat go dat dat go dat dat go dat. Maybe you've really never worked on that much. Now's the time to work on it for 17 minutes a day, and you will see a huge progress once you keep that consistency. This is really good. I use this 17-minute practice a lot. And then finally, the last thing is a new song to learn. So learn a new song. 17 minutes. As soon as that timer goes off, boom, you're done. And this total practice routine, these 6 exercises, would take about 1.42 minutes, about an hour and 40 minutes to get through this whole thing, 17 minutes. So if you have just about 2 hours, these 17 minutes go by quick. So if you find yourself practicing and you're just kind of getting bored, or I don't know what to practice, and try the 17-minute thing, try the 12 minutes, try 15 minutes, and work on one thing at a time. That timer will go off so fast, and next thing you know, you look at your clock, oh my gosh, I practiced for like 2 hours already, and time just flew. So this is a really good one. All right, so this one is the one thing until you're done. One thing. A lot of experts say that if you always focus on one thing, not just drumming, just in anything, if you just focus on one thing, it's better than scattering yourself to several different things. Now, for me, I have a hard time just working on one thing for hours at a time. My brain just starts going nuts and I need to work on other things. So that's why I break it up. But for someone like you, or someone like Thomas Lang, who actually I got this from, I've been fortunate enough to hang out with Thomas Lang several times. He's become a good friend of mine. I actually did his website, Thomas Lang Drumming website, his new website, and we're going to be doing some updates to that in the future. So, take a look at that. We're going to be updating that site pretty soon here. But anyway, Thomas told me that this is what he does. He works on one thing. He'll put on a set of headphones and he'll watch a movie. Okay, and he's really not listening too much to the movie. He's putting the headphones on, listening to the drumming, but he's really not listening to the movie. He's more just visually watching it to let the time go by, and his hands and his body are on automatic pilot. He's working on one thing, sometimes one thing for 2 to 3 hours straight, from beginning to the end of that movie, and he'll come back the next day and work on it again until he's done. Until he's finished with that exercise and he feels that he could now utilize that in his playing without even thinking. So that's the one thing method. I say here, practice one thing practice the one thing that you've been struggling with until you're done or ready to use it without thinking. There's no time limit on this. You just practice it until it's done. Examples, you're working on your hands. Practice your paradiddles and variations of paradiddles or any other rudiment that needs work, and you just keep practicing that for hours and hours until you're comfortable with it. Then you move on to the next thing. Maybe you want to combine some of the practice things, maybe not do one thing, maybe do just 2 things in an entire practice session. You got 2 hours of practice, you're going to practice 1 hour on one thing and 1 hour on the next. Just giving you examples of how to practice. The next thing here is feet. So again, single, double bass techniques, you're going to practice that for as long as it takes. Whatever you're working on, that one specific exercise, not a whole bunch of things, but maybe one specific exercise like a double bass 16ths, and you just keep practicing that till you're blue in the face at different tempos. And set yourself with a goal tempo that you're trying to reach. And once you reach that goal, then you're done. Now you can move on to the next exercise, but one exercise at a time. Then you work on your grooves, one at a time. Same thing, a new groove that you need to perfect. So you haven't got it down now. I'll use the Sango again as an example because I think it's a great groove for anybody to learn. If you haven't seen my video on the Sango, definitely check that out. It's a really great video and a really good exercise and a beat for you to improve on a whole bunch of things. So work on something that you haven't worked on before that you need help with. A new song. challenge yourself with a new song. You take your whole practice session and work on this new song, or a couple practice sessions until that song is done. Because if you can't do things in the song and then at the end of the couple days or whatever, now you can, you've improved. That's just how it works. And then the last thing is a fill or linear pattern. It doesn't have to be in this order either. I'm just giving you examples. A fill or linear pattern. Again, linear meaning no two limbs touch at the same time. A songo is a perfect example of that. And again, work on things that need improvement, not things that you already know. And at the bottom, I said, don't doodle too much on what you already know. End each practice session with something new, meaning walk out of your practice session, walk away from that drum set, look back and say, you know what? I learned something today. I went from here to here. Just one step on the ladder each day. As long as you're improving a little bit each day, that's all that matters. If you keep working on the same things and you go and you're just doodling around and you're not really practicing, it's not going to be an effective practice for you, and you're going to end up wasting a lot of hours, and you're not going to improve that quickly, which is what you're trying to do. You want to improve very fast in the shortest amount of time. So you got to use that time very strategically. All right, don't doodle too much. There goes my light. I'm going to turn that on in a second. Don't doodle too much. It's okay to doodle and just kind of work things and just, okay, I got to clear my head. I'm just going to play a little bit and have some fun. That's fine. But just get right back to work after that 5 minutes. Don't doodle. All right, and finally, I'm going to share with you my current practice routine. And you see at the top, I say the bodybuilder method. I learned this from Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was really getting into bodybuilding, and someone asked him, what do you work on? Just like a drummer, what do you practice? What are you supposed to work on? There's so many things. I have books and books and books piled up in my drum room that would take me 10 lifetimes to learn that stuff at a minimum. Okay, I can't learn it all in one lifetime. So I have to strategically pick things that I think would help my drumming, help improve my drumming. And I used the bodybuilder method and Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example because he once said in one of his videos, I think it was Pumping Iron, when someone asked, what do you work on? He said, well, I just kind of look in the mirror and see what needs work. If my shoulders are kind of looking a little small or out of proportion, then I'll really focus on my shoulders that week. If my biceps are looking smaller or not as in proportion as the rest of my body, then I'll work on biceps. Focus on that this week. And then that may change up week to week and month to month. And that's my point here, is that my current practice routine, I'll do this for several months, okay? Because there's a lot here and there's a lot to learn and a lot to accomplish. But I won't just work on this forever, and I'm not going to just work on it for a week. I'll work on it until everything is good and that everything is balanced, and then I'll look at whatever else I need to work on. What are my weaknesses, in my drumming at this time, and that's what I should focus on. And that's how my concept of practicing has been going these days. Just kind of looking at things and seeing what really needs to work the most. So with that said, my routine, starting out with rudiments, I start out with the intermediate and advanced hands for a lifetime, Tommy Igoe's method there. So I'll do that for about 30 minutes. And then I'll work on any rudiments that are not up to speed. So usually in the advanced one, the intermediate one I have down pretty good, but the advanced one, there's some rudiments there that I struggle with on the tempo that they're doing it at. So I'll just isolate those and I'll work on those individually after I'm done working on the entire routine for Hands for a Lifetime. I'll work on those specific rudiments and work those up to speed. And then the next time I do Advance for a Lifetime, they feel much better. I'm still not quite 100% at the advanced, but I'm very, very close, and it's because of this practice routine that I'm getting there. All right, so I'll do that for a little bit. It takes me about 30, maybe 45 minutes. And then lately I've been doing grooves and fills in that category. I'm working on linear grooves, so where no two limbs touch at the same time, and different patterns that I could move around the kit. That's really important, and it's a really good part of my practice routine because it forces me to be creative with all the different instruments that I'm working with. I also have been working on a cadence groove. I'll sing it for you. So I'm trying to do that between the kick and the snare and the hi-hat, and then I'll bring my right hand over to the ride cymbal and continue this groove and just expand on it. All right, so this is one of those grooves that I really thought was pretty cool. It could be a whole solo idea, something that I want to perfect, and it's not nearly as good as where I'd liked it to be. So that's in my routine for right now. The other thing that I practice here, the next thing I go into, and I'm actually doing it pretty much in this order too, is patterns and ostinato. So what's an ostinato is something, a steady pattern that never changes. So to keep things simple, maybe your hi-hat and your kick drum are hitting at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chung, 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 chung. And on top of that, your hands just play over the top of that. The kick and snare never change. That's an ostinato. And then you're just soloing on top of that. Whatever you're going to do, you just got to make sure that pattern's the same. You could use a sango pattern. You can come up with a hand pattern, make your feet do the improvising. So 1 or 2 or 3 limbs are going to do a steady pattern, and it's the whatever's left over is going to improvise on top of that. Okay, so that's that. And I've been working on the linear grooves and patterns and that cadence just for now. I'm sorry, the ostinatos, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting a little brain dead here. But the ostinatos I've been working on. The Keith Carlock is what I've been working on that one. Keith Carlock, 4/4 to 6/8 to 3/4. It's kind of like a solo, and it's just a different way of thinking. You're playing a solo in 4/4, then you immediately go to 6/8 without stopping, and immediately go to 3/4. If you want to see what he's doing, he plays that in Drumeo. Just look up Keith Carlock solo. And it's really, really neat, very challenging, and an excellent way to practice, to kind of think of things in 4/4, then 6/8, then 3/4. The metronome never changes, it's just the way you're counting it changes. It's really wild. And then I also, for the ostinatos, I've been working on the backward samba. So the samba sounds like do chicka go chicka go chicka go chicka do chicka go chicka go chicka go. That's the samba. So the backwards one is chakukun 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 chakukun, and the gunku is the bass drum. So hi-hat and then the bass drum chakukun chakukun. So that's an ostinato, and on top of that, I'll just work on some stuff on my hands to solo on top of that. That's how the ostinatos work. Very challenging, very fun to do. You come up with a lot of creative ideas. Then I go into double bass. So real quick, I do doubles, 2 on each foot. Then I play some paradiddles. I'll play it as 16th notes. I'll play them as triplets. I'll do some double paradiddles. Then I'll do the 3, the 5, and the 9-stroke rough, which is like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 da 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 da. That's 3. 5 would be da 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 3 for 5 1 2 3 4 5. And then the 9-stroke rough da 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 da, all with a metronome. All right. And then I go right into trading 4s, 6s, and 8s. So I'll do 4 on the snare drum, then 4 on the bass drum. 4 on the snare drum, 4 on the bass drum, 4 on the snare, 4 on the bass. Do that for a while, then I do 6 and 6. 6 on the snare, 6 on the bass, 6 on the snare, 6 on the double bass. And then I'll do 8 and 8. 8 on the snare, 8 on the double bass at different tempos. And then once I'm done with that, I do something called 3s and 5s and 7s, starting with the left hand. So I do the left hand on the snare, right hand on the floor tom, and I fill everything in underneath with the bass drum. So the 3 would be left, right, and then the bass drums would go right, left, right, left. 1 and 2 and 3 and da da gong 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 da da gong 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 gong. 1 and 2 and 3 and the 5 would be da da gong gong da da gong 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 gong. 1 2 3 4 5 ba ba gong gong ba ba gong 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 ba ba gong gong ba ba gong 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 gong. And the 7 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and da ga 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 da gong gong da da gong gong da da gong 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 gong. I'll probably do a whole nother video just on that, on just the bass drum exercise that I work on. Then I will do triplets, sevens. Diddle diddle dat, diddle diddle dat. Switching feet, starting with the right, starting with the left. Diggada diggada dat, diggada diggada dat. Diggada diggada dat, diggada diggada dat. Really cool, a little double bass thing that you could add in with your fills. You could add that at the end of any fill. It's really cool. Thomas Lang uses a lot of those, and I really love the way that sounds. And then lately I've been working on what I wrote here is Painkiller intro and triplets beat. So if you guys are not familiar with Painkiller, it's a Judas Priest song. I love Judas Priest. I'm also in a Judas Priest tribute band, and Painkiller is phenomenal. It's a really challenging beat to play. So the intro is very challenging. I break that up into parts, so I work on each part individually, and then there's a triplet beat in the middle that he plays that I also play that by itself, working up the metronome to speed. Very challenging, very cool, and it'll definitely help your double bass in my opinion. So that's my double bass routine. Do that for a while. Then I'll learn some new songs, something new, something that I need to learn. Maybe for my band, Judas Priest, I'll learn a new Judas Priest song, or I'll just learn anything that I think will challenge me. Sometimes I just play to drumless tracks and grooves and things that don't have any vocals, and just so I could work on my timing and soloing. So I'll work on just playing the beat, and then I'll let the music groove in the background, and I'll fill that in with a solo. Okay, so those are really a lot of fun to do. And then here's something that I stumbled across. It's only like $5 or $5 a month. This is an app by Mike Johnston. It's called Groove Freedom. Groove Freedom app, and you can get this for your iPhone or your iPad, and I think you can get it for Android as well. Guys, I'm telling you, this is phenomenal. The way that Mike wrote this app and just the way it's structured and what it's accomplishing, you may think that it's simple, and you may try things, and people might be listening outside your practice door thinking, oh, that guy's probably a beginner, because it really challenges you, even from simple beats like don't jat gon gon jat gon jat gon don jacon. If you have like ghost notes going on in there, if Mike's exercise requires ghost notes, and those ghost notes have to line up perfectly with the hi-hat or the bass drum, and it's not something you've never done before, I'm telling you right now, this is a phenomenal app that I make sure I work on every single day, because it's helping all kinds of other things. I cannot recommend that enough. And so I always get asked, you know, how many hours a day do you practice? So I practice about 3 to 4 hours a day during the week. That doesn't mean all at once. I may practice 30 minutes rudiments at work, pick up my pad and my sticks and just practice something, maybe even at lunchtime. I'll practice a little bit, then I'll go to my practice room and I'll do a little bit more rudiments. That'll take up, you know, sometimes an hour, hour and a half, hour and 15 in a day, and then I'll go into my regular routine. So I practice about 3 or 4 hours during the day and about 4 to 5 hours during the week, on the weekends. I don't really go more than that because I just kind of listen to my body. I used to be able to play 6, 8, 10 hours a day, but I'm a little older now, and I listen to my body and I stop when I'm tired and my brain just can't handle anymore. So pay attention to that. Guys, that is it. I gave you some examples of how to practice. I hope you go and use some of these, try, you know, some of the practice routines, see what works for you, and then take a little bit from each practice routine and combine it into your own. I'd love to see your comments. I'd love to see what you're working on and how you came up with your practice routine, and if this helped you in any way. So if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe. Hit the bell next to subscribe so you'll be notified of any new videos that I put out in the future. I usually put out 1 video a week right now on Sundays. And that's about it. I'll see you guys on the next one. I appreciate you. Don't forget to comment below. I'll see you next time.